Whenever Konami reviews a new card, the first thing that players tend to look at are the card's effects. And after that, its combat stats, its summoning conditions, and its attribute. You know, the parts related to actually playing the card. After all, Yu-Gi-Oh! Is primarily a trading card game. And first and foremost, that's how the cards are designed to be played with. But over the years, new cards and decks are getting increasingly designed with their own stories and universes in mind. In this series, Behind the Text, I will break down and explain how some of the most beloved and well-played cards are more than just blocks of overpowered card text. But sit back and enjoy as I show how the designers of this game depict story and characters through nothing more than flavorful card text and some snapshots and character bios on the artwork. This time, the focus is the TCG exclusive archetype that first introduced me to the game, Myutant. Compared to my previous video about the Fiendsmith archetype, the story for the Mutants is less difficult to decipher. This is because the full storyline was narrated through a single player story mode on Master Duel. So, rather than speculation about what the character dynamics are and what the order of events is, for this video I can instead take Master Duel's narrative as lore and go from there. With that said, let's get into how this story is told through their effects. The first and original Mutant is coincidentally also the last one that was printed, Myutant. This first specimen crashed from outer space on Earth, after which it was taken by researchers for the purpose of studying it. A research lab was formed dedicated to this organism, researching its anatomy and its behavior. They also learned how to duplicate this original specimen, leading to the creation of other mutants such as Mutant MO5, Mutant ST46 and Mutant GB88. As these were all based on the original, their appearances are barely distinct, particularly MO5 and ST46 are nearly identical, to the point that the surrounding card art is a vertical inversion of the other. The scientists observed that the mutants were communicating with each other, yet no contact between humans and these mutants could be established. Inevitably, one of the mutants broke out of its incubators, with many other mutants following suit. The first to break out is Mutant GB88, a monster that can special summon itself during the opponent's main phase, but only as long as Evolution Lab is on the field. This means that the opponent of the mutant player acts as the researchers and the guards working at the research facility, while the summon from the private knowledge location of the hand simulates the suddenness of the breakout. After this breakout came the other specimens, Mutant MO5 and Mutant ST46, which, on summon, add either a mutant monster or a mutant spell and trap from deck to hand, further boosting the outbreak and supplying fuel for the second stage, the mutating. What followed was a complete infestation of the escaping mutants throughout the research facility. As the research facility became completely infested with the escaping mutants, the monsters themselves began quickly and randomly bonding with anything their groping tentacles reached. The lower leveled mutants all share one effect, namely to tribute themselves and banish another card for cost in order to special summon an appropriate level 8 mutant monster. The specifics differ between the four monsters, with for example Mutant banishing the second card from deck rather than hand or field, or GB88 which summons a level 8 mutant monster from graveyard or banished. Regardless, the core idea remains the same. The monster turns into a stronger mutant by banishing another card. This shared quality gives the banished zone its distinctive identity within the mutant deck. When a mutant mutates, this is done by bonding with another object and making it part of itself. These objects that are made part of the mutant end up in the banishment. This also explains the passive effect of Evolution Lab, which gives mutant monsters 100 attack for each banished mutant name, meaning that the more they mutate, the stronger they become. The main deck contains 3 of these powered up mutants. By bonding with other animals, the animalistic mutant beast is created. By bonding with lab equipment and the incubators, the mechanistic mutant arsenal is given rise to. And finally, when the specimens bond with energy-induced crystals, mutant mist forms. All three of these are created by bonding with a specific material, giving them unique powers and resistances. In actual gameplay, these level 8s can be summoned by summoning a monster, a spell or a trap respectively, for the cost of one of the little guys. Also, all of these have immunity to being targeted by the same card super type that was used for their mutation, so Mutant Mist, which is the product of bonding with spell cards, cannot be targeted by spell cards. As a result, the expansion of the mutants throughout the research facility proceeds nearly uncontested, as is shown in the trap card Mutant Expansion. On activation, it adds or summons a level 4 or lower mutant monster from deck, further adding to the overrunning of the mutant lab by the mutating specimen. And this is also highlighted by the card art, showing the tentacles of one mutant rapidly creeping up a staircase. The scientists and the guards attempt to combat the mutants with force, yet their weapons prove ineffectual. The second effect of Mutant Expansion prevents level 8 or higher mutants from being destroyed, while each of the level 8s has a reactive effect when encountered with a super type they are not immune to. And if any of the level 8 mutants actually do get destroyed, each of the mutated forms has a final effect to return a banished mutant card to the hand. So, even after destroying them, the mutants simply revert to their base forms, ready to start the mutation process all over again. The spell card Mutant Fusion is the penultimate example of the Resistance's futility. Mutant Fusion is normally a standard fusion spell that banishes its materials from hand or field. However, if the opponent has activated a card or effect that turn, you can also use one material from deck and one material from the graveyard, showing that even if the humans fight back, the mutants only become stronger. During the outbreak, the mutants ultimately stop groping for other objects to fuel their mutations, and instead they begin fusing with one another. All that they gain from their particular mutations now becomes consolidated within one creature. That first created mutant is mutant synthesis, and then afterwards, that combined creature grew to such a gargantuan size that it far exceeded the laboratory size and created Mutant Ultimus. The fusion materials of these two fusion monsters reflect their species' evolutionary process too. Whereas the main level 8s are created by bonding with any surrounding object, the mutant fusion monsters require only and specifically mutants to bond with one another. Just like the level 8 mutant monsters, mutant synthesis possesses a form of immunity, just like the level 8 mutant monsters. However, the form of immunity that synthesis possesses is more potent. When your opponent activates a card or an effect, you can chain the effect of synthesis to make it immune to that activated card's super type for the rest of the turn. This effect means that the first means by which the opponent attempts to combat synthesis is immediately made useless. Meanwhile, Mutant Ultimus can negate any activated card or effect of the opponent by banishing a mutant card of the same super type from hand, field or graveyard. Although Ultimus does not have immunity, this negation effect shows how its skill and evolutionary information allows it to undo any last-ditch preventative attack mankind throws at it. The focus of Mutant on the super types for transforming what each mutant gains immunity to, which is visible throughout the entire archetype, culminates in the genetic resistance to any super type of their own choosing. The eruption of Mutant Ultimus from the research facility acts as the climax to the mutant outbreak. As the boss monsters slowly grow in their size and the amount of mutations used to produce them, they also increasingly gain resistance to anything that could stop them. As such, the story ends on one researcher's somber comment: "Godspeed to the rest of humanity."